On a personal note, this is probably my favorite vintage watch of all time.
Yep.
These Japanese collectors, they know what they're doing. They collect primo stuff.
10,000.
And we're out.
Wow. And this is a watch I'd like to be able to sell to a client where I know that when they go to resell it, they're not going to have a hard time because they didn't like wildly overpay. We are back in Geneva for another May auction season. One of the questions I get asked the most as a dealer is how are you able to buy at auction and then resell on a retail level? So today in this video, Sacha and I are going to show you how we go through some lots. We pulled out about a dozen or so, how we kind of think the process through, what we consider bidding, and then we'll show you all the way up through possibly bidding on the watches and hopefully taking a few home. What's the first lot we got pulled out here for us? Let's jump right in. So this is a watch that I'm very fond of, and I think Gallet, while it was popular a few years ago, is going to have another moment again considering Breitling just bought the brand. This is what's called a clamshell case because it has 4 screws in the back. Very popular waterproof Gallet model from the 1940s. This is one of the more popular sector snail dials. Let's take a look at the condition. This is the first time either of us are seeing these watches in person. Really important to look for these, obviously, dial condition. Simply put, you know, even though they're waterproof, we're talking about a watch literally 80 plus years old now, and they still got humidity, moisture in them, making sure everything's correct on it. Serial number visible on the back. Really strong case, like incredibly strong. Dare I say, razor sharp, unpolished. And this one is a beautiful dial. This is really nice. This is the original 2-piece crown for it. These crowns were a little bit thicker. And these are just really cool 34mm watches. What's the estimate on this one?
Well, it doesn't matter. The first 220 lots are no reserve.
Okay, great.
So it's a single collection from a Japanese collector.
Oh, wow.
And the first 220 lots have been like subsequently renegotiated to all of those estimates. It's 1,500 to 2,500.
Right.
They're no reserve.
And
which makes it a lot more interesting because everyone can bid
whatever they want. Yeah. And I even see like original pushers in here. You see all the patina on them. I mean, I haven't sold one of these, I'll be honest, in ages. I used to get a lot of these and then they kind of dried up. Some other dealers who really specialize in them seem to be snatching them up. I think the market value is probably in like the 6K range. So I would say you need to buy it around $4,500 to $5,000 all in.
Today with the exchange rate plus the premium plus the tariff.
Right. So
it adds up.
Keep in mind, we're talking in US dollars. You always, before the auction, consider currency fluctuations, import costs, all that stuff.
So let's say you wanted to pay $4,500 all in, right?
Right.
Divided by 1.1 already for the tariffs, then divided by 1.25
for 25% premium.
25% premium, it would mean a bid of 2,600 francs.
Okay. So, you know, that's kind of how we run through it, you know, always trying to leave yourself a little margin. So if I think I can sell it for 6,000, maybe I can't, maybe I only get 5,500 for it. So you bid up to 5,000 just to leave yourself a little wiggle room.
1,400, 1,004, 8, 19 and 2,000. C'est 2,000 maintenant, ici sur ma droite. 2,200 avec vous. 2,200, 2002, back to the Mathew 2002, so I'm saying to you, sir, what is your other number? It's 69, right? 2002 once, twice.
Next lot we have is, I think, another Gallet. I think there's a great collection of Gallet in the sale. I'm happy to see it. A lot of these really don't pop up. So this is very similar to the last lot, only with a black gilt dial, much more favored by collectors, much harder to find. I prefer the condition already on this one more, lot number 6. But again, this is a very difficult watch to find.
And black dials have always kind of commanded a little bit of a premium.
Yeah, black gilt dial, no less. The dial has seen better days. It's highly crazed, but it is original. You know, case maybe not quite as sharp as the last one, but still nice. Still seems to be all original. Curious to see how far away the serial numbers are. Extremely close. This one's 74,000 and this one's 75,000. 400 serial numbers apart. Really cool watch. I would say they're probably equal in terms of value, and I would say need to bid around the same thing to be able to take it home and potentially resell it. So let's just say $2,600 for this one.
Lot number 8, 22, 22, 24.
No, I'm happier.
6.
It's rare, but I'm happier with the stand down on this one because I'm happier with this one. This one is way, but yeah. No, the same case, but right there, this one was polished, this one was not. That's why this one's flat, this one's not. I'll skip it.
4,500, c'est bien vu par votre grade juge. Une fois, deux fois. Si j'ai 4,500, c'est au 15 70.
What do we have next, kind
That would
sir?
be the Gallet Yachting. The reason I pulled this one out is because there's several brands that made yachting chronographs. Yachting chronograph is a regatta chronograph, which has a 15-minute like countdown essentially as to when a regatta starts. Hoyer famously also, made one, but they have gone like through the roof in terms of like the Carrera, the yachting register. And so I think that this is like
Dude, there was a 2447 Seafarer that sold in a smaller auction house.
40 grand?
$47,000, and I'm not sure if that was hammer or all in.
That was all in. I think it was like over 40,000.
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely mint and extremely rare, but that's like a multiple world record, like a 4x of the highest sale that I know of. Maybe not 4x, but
2x.
2x.
Yeah.
Like really strong result. I think people are finally coming back around to these quirky chronographs and interesting watches.
Like interesting sizes. So this is like what, 34, 35 millimeter,
The condition.
35. The condition's like pristine. It gives you that kind of like look, but at a fraction of the price. The estimates of 1,000 to 2,000 without reserve.
Right.
It's a watch that like I would probably want to be at like 3,500 francs all in.
All in. Okay.
So I would just divide that by 1.25 and then
3,500 all in, figuring a retail
tax.
price of like 6,500, maybe $7,000 kind of thing,
maybe, yes.
Maybe, right.
I think like more like 5. But
Again,
sure.
as dealers, like it's no shock to anybody that we are trying to resell watches to make a profit. So we're always trying to build ourselves in a margin while still remaining fair for the client and getting our client a quality watch.
Le Germain 1200. 1400 d'Elbow. 1400 de Jacques.
You never told me how much you were going to get, and I'd be interested.
1800 dans la salle. J'ai 2000 maintenant. New bidder. 2000 for you. 2002. 2004.
I think that's it after that. Probably.
No. So I'm saying 2004.
Dude, I'm
very happy on last selling. My root bidder, 2004. Type to all the bidders once, twice, selling. J'ai 2400, c'est au panneau 69.
What do we have next? So far, all these watches have been really nice,
There would be the Mathew-Tissot that I pulled out. So this is an interesting scenario. The watch is, absolutely pristine. The lume's all original. The case is unpolished. The condition is just spectacular. Numbers still visible on the back. And it comes with box and papers.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, fitted box, blank warranty, instruction booklet, and cloth.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
So this was made in the 60s.
But the Mathew-Tissot were a civilian issue, correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yes.
Yes. So, but still incredibly rare to find Breguet for a lesser price, I guess you could say.
So it's Mathew-Tissot was actually producing them for Breguet.
Right.
At the time. And that's why they look so similar. It's just, yes, it's a
Does
civilian.
not stamp Breguet.
It's a civilian one. And so basically, yeah, if I'm wearing it on my wrist, you're like, oh, wow, nice Breguet.
Right. I would say that's a considerably rarer watch. And by the way, not for nothing, this is why I tend to love Antiquorum. They have, 760 lots in the sale?
Yeah.
790 lots in the sale. Sure, a lot are pocket watches and stuff that we're not going to be interested in, but they have such a wide variety of watches that it's just always fun to pick through the catalog and just be blown away by the sheer volume of cool stuff you could find.
So I did an analysis of how many lots they have, how many lots I tend to look at,
Right.
like view, and then how many lots I actually end up buying. And it's usually 10% I view. So I looked at 75 watches out of 790. That kind of lines up.
Right.
And I'm assuming that in a right world, I'll buy between 7 and 8 watches when all is said and done.
Yeah,
That's
which is great.
1%.
Yeah, but listen,
1% of the catalog.
that's nice, even if you pick up only a couple, So what do you think? I haven't sold one of those in at least 3 years. So,
I'd want to be at 10 to 12 all in.
okay. So 10 to
So that would be like
12 all in. Yeah, we can do the calculations later, but
7.5, 8.
thinking
blah, blah, blah,
that, so 10 to 12 Swiss all in,
including
that's
tax, 'cause
in
that's-
dollars, like 15,000, probably just quick math
and
after
then sell
currency
it,
conversion.
it'll be just
there.
shy of $20,000 watch retail.
Right.
But I'm
Ask him
bidding
20,
But this is a unique scenario because the client asked me to bid on it for him.
Okay.
So I charge a 5% fee
Okay.
to bid for him, and he wants to pay in trade. So it's a bit like
All over the place.
complicated. But at least it's very transparent.
So I won't ask you to partner that, and I won't bid against you.
20. Chronograph.
Finish go a little higher. It has like all that shit with it. You never see it. It's like it's niche.
The last one for like high teens.
Right.
6000.
I'm happy to do it. Just
Yeah, wing it.
7000, c'est bien dire 7000. 7500. Pas vu 11,000. 8,500. 9,000. J'ai 9000 contre vous là-dessus.
I like this watch a lot.
C'est bon? Le 69, 9500. On arrondit à 10. On arrondit à 10, oui?
Oui.
À 10 10,000. Prochain, c'est quoi?
I think that's it though. I think it's it. Yeah, it's too tight.
On sent l'Ulysse.
Stay focused.
So next up is lot, I think chronologically 21, another Movado chronograph. This is an M90 from the possibly 1930s, maybe 1940s. Looks to be exceptional. I just love this flat bezel. It's a smaller watch. Calatrava style bezel. It's a 32mm watch, but incredibly rare watch, incredibly rare variant. I love the squiggly hands they used on these. Snapback case. Let's check the condition. Dial's really nice. You know, this is a really quality piece. I think obviously, like you said earlier at the beginning of the video, these are all coming from one collector out of Japan.
Yep.
These Japanese collectors, they know what they're doing. They collect primo stuff. You know, I could probably even guess the dealer that this came from who specializes in these kind of watches, and he's a first-rate guy. I think this is a watch that retails around $8,000 for its rarity.
Yeah, the estimate's 1,500 to 2,500, but again,
Right.
the estimates now are completely meaningless because
Right.
it's all no reserve. They're already low to begin with.
Right. So I'm going to want to pay in that, you know, $7,000 range, $6,500 kind of thing.
I think that's strong. I think you would be able to pick that watch up for like $6,500 all in, imported.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll see.
We will see the result, because I will definitely be bidding.
One at 2005. C'est mon 4,000 here.
Wow. I mean, I knew like Movado vintage. Movado's hard to buy. Good stuff's hard to find. So it's already at 4 hammer.
Dans la salle, pas dans online, j'ai vu à 4 000 on l'a refait une fois, 2 fois. Un jugé cher.
Gotta go. It's tight, you know? It's a fucking sick watch, but too tight.
Next lot we have is 22, another Movado that you actually fancied. This one in M95, so their triple register chronograph.
This one's a bit polished.
Right. It is the FB case, yeah.
It's the Bourgal case, which is, you know, the same case maker that made the 1463 from Patek Philippe,
Right.
the first waterproof chronograph for that brand. But the construction of the case, the pushers are just beautiful.
Right. Snail tacky dial. It looks to be the original lume for sure. Yeah, confirmed under UV. My only concern about this watch, like you said, it has been a little polished, and it's really nice when these cases are razor sharp, but you know, serials are still visible. It is a nice example. And on certain watches, I'd probably want to do a little bit more research. I believe these two register hands should either be matching or the right serpentine, squiggly hand. So it's possible that this right register hand has been replaced.
Yeah.
But either way, not.
Because usually it's the running seconds, which is different from the chronograph functions,
Right.
if anything.
And I love these watches. The chronograph starts in the bottom. I just always thought that's so fun. Considering that, I would say retail value of this watch is probably similar to the last lot, even though it's a bigger case, more modern, you know, rare, more interesting dial, but it does have its limitations. I like the condition on the smaller M90 better.
The issue is that no matter my qualms with any of these watches, I then originally looked at the estimate and I was like, oh, it's so cheap. Like to start, you know?
Right.
And then also now that it's no reserve, I'm like, there's just like no reason not to bid.
Right. So I would say I'd try to buy it in that same $6.5 all-in range, similar to the last lot.
Polished.
Yeah, this one's not. What's those names?
Non, c'est des années 200. On donne 89. Donc là, il y a des 400, il y a 600, 1800. 2000. What do you mean, tutu? Tutu with you. 2200. 2004.
Maybe just let it go. It's rare, but the condition wasn't like spectacular.
It was not.
It was nice. Yeah, hand issue, yeah.
It's missing that like squiggly hair.
Yeah. Let's leave it.
All right. Tu vas y.
Un jugé au 128.
You trying to red hands too?
Au 128, c'est un jugé à 2400.
Moving right along, we have lot 25, which is yet another Movado. And guys, vintage Movado is really hard to find, and it is really rare to see this many Gallet, Movado, etc. of this quality in one sale. So you kind of have to just shoot your shot. I really think this is my old watch.
Looks familiar.
2016, 2017. This is similar FB case to the last lot, M95, again with a black gilt dial. Really, really difficult to find, like extremely difficult watch to find. I've only ever had one. You know, the one knock immediately is, which is why I think it was mine, is that the minute hand is darker than everything else, which is why it sticks out of my head. Everything else seems to be on par. This did have a red chronograph hand, red register's hands, and the gilt is immaculate, which is also hard to find. Like we saw earlier, the gilt Gallet that had a lot of cracking on the dial. This one seems to be in much better condition.
It's funny, that one reminded me of the Furlan Marie 4-year anniversary watch they came out with.
Right.
Although it's a time-only watch, it's not a chronograph. They did that red seconds hand with a black dial and kind of like, you know, the retro case.
Right.
And it kind of, the color scheme at least, like basically reminded me of a little bit of that watch. I've seen the black on red or the red on black.
Right. It makes sense that this serial is a little bit later than the last one as well, because this would have been an earlier kind of dial and an earlier signature. And we see the later Movado signature, and this is about 2,000 case numbers after the earlier snail dial. So yes, similar construction.
Galvanic gilt, or is it just
gilt, the whole dial? Yeah. Yes, correct.
Okay.
The entire dial, which is
actually a little bit later.
Hard to find, you know? Yeah, later, but also hard to find, because usually they would switch to gilt print with galvanic around the edges of the dial, or just the registers, or whatever. The entire dial, including the logo, is galvanic.
And you have like multicolor scales, different things. Like a lot of really, really interesting, rich watches back then.
So lot 25, I think it's hard to judge. Honestly, at its peak when Movado was really hot, let's say like 2017, 2018, this would have been a mid-teens watch. I don't think it's quite there anymore. Maybe you get around $10,000 retail for it. So I would,
$7,500.
yeah, I would take a shot like in that $7,500 range, just leaving myself a little room in case I'm wrong. It's been literally almost 10 years since I've had either this watch or one very, very similar to it.
Which can either be a really good sign or a bad sign.
Right.
So we'll see.
25, which is this Movado Arbre d'achat as online. 2002 with you. Back to Jomo Masusu.
The problem is condition is not like spectacular. It's rare.
I asked 2-4.
Yeah.
26.
Yeah, one more.
26, thank you, sir.
That's it.
2006. Back to the room. What was a little pasteurs à Lyon. Skip it. 2000 setting at 3004. Fair warning online. Setting.
Is neither a Gallet nor a Movado. It's a Ulysse Nardin. So this is lot number 30, circa 1942. It's pretty specific. Ulysse Nardin is not a brand that you see very often in that era. What's really, really cool about this watch is that it's actually a Borgel case. So you have like typical ridge pushers.
Right. Similar to like a 1463 Patek, which why everybody loves it.
And then the screw back, which then says patented and has the FB signature above the patent and the dust cover. So I think it's just like a really, really, really nice kind of chronograph from in a configuration you don't see very often. The condition is really, really nice.
I sold Kevin Odell one of these years ago, like extremely nice as
but again,
well.
they don't come up.
They do not. That's the last one I had, and we're talking. It's got to be 2017, 2018.
So now a couple of years ago, now that like Ulysse Nardin is like kind of really been a push to relaunch the brand.
Right.
Somebody asked me, a modern guy asked me he wanted one vintage Ulysse Nardin.
Right.
And I thought of him right away, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is great. And plus the condition, I love the Borgel case, and I love like, everything that, the condition. So
what do you think retail value of this watch is?
I would love, obviously I think it's below 10 because it is kind of like a niche watch. I would love to be able to get it to the client at $7,500 retail, which means that I have to reverse calculate basically my margin that would be worked into there, and then the Swiss franc exchange rate and yada, yada, yada. But because I feel at that price, it's like you're getting a lot of value.
I completely agree. And it's a watch that you just can't replicate very easily,
Exactly.
All right. What do you think? This should be a V23. Yeah, caliber 13. Okay, so try to get it like 6 all in. Sell for $7,500.
8 with you. 800. Et around when you want. 3,000 paid out, 4,000. Next would be 4,005. And original 1,005, 4,005.
Oh, it's already 4 or 5 anyways. I would skip it. I mean, it's a fantastic watch, but it's too much for me to buy for stock personally.
Congratulations to you, the new owner at 8,005 selling. Adjugé 8500 au 11,60.
Chronologically, next we have lot 53. And again, there's 790 lots in the sale, so we only picked out like the first 12 on our list, and we'll go through those with you just so this doesn't drag on for 2 hours.
Every time I open up this catalog, I see a watch that I've missed. Something.
Right.
Like, it's just like wild.
So this is a favorite of mine. This is a 13ZN-12, nicknamed the Doppia Lancetta. It is a easy way of just, I guess, describing it. 2 chronograph hand watch, not a split seconds. It looks like a split seconds.
The first time I ever saw this watch was in 2013, or this model, and my brother and I were like, oh, I think the split seconds is broken on this, because we didn't realize that it was just a central minutes chronograph, and it was the first of its kind. So basically they stack the seconds and the minutes.
Correct.
The minute
so
register is
the minute register is the red hand. So once this blue chronograph hand goes around the dial and counts, this red hand will move, counting 1 minute, and the right register, as opposed to being a triple register chronograph, counts down the hours. It's the hour totalizer.
And then you have the running seconds on the
left.
right.
Correct. So there's super interesting watches, considered some of the best chronograph movements ever designed. Also 38 millimeters screw down case, you know, matching numbers. So on these, you always check to make sure the number on the back of the lug matches the back of the case.
13ZN is also considered one of the most beautiful chronograph movements ever produced.
Right.
Column wheel chronograph with the central minutes, so making it kind of unique for the time. And the one thing about this watch is that it does have aging, because it was radium hands and radium dial. And so what we call radium burn, because you see like these lines where the hand sits still for a long time, and they leave basically radium burn.
Like a fingerprint, like a burn mark. So let's cut to the chase. These watches, like if you look back to like old Philippe start, stop, reset, when they just did only chronographs, these were 6-figure watches at their height. You know, everybody was going crazy for 13ZN chronographs, and it saddens me actually that they fell off a little bit, because I truly love them too, and I think they deserve all of the recognition and you know, interest that they had. So this, I think, is a great opportunity to get into one of these that you don't have to pay all the money in the world. Obviously, the 6-figure pricing is long gone on these now. And because of the aging, which is very honest on the dial, and it looks like still all original radium, case is fantastic. It's an opportunity to be able to offer this to a client at a very reasonable price point, depending on what it sells for. So the estimate is laughable. I would personally be comfortable paying around all in $25,000 for this watch.
I was gonna say 20,000 francs.
Okay,
so yeah, it's the same thing.
Similar thing, just so that I could list it for, let's say, $32,500, and then let somebody beat me up a couple grand on a negotiation, still make a decent margin, get somebody at what I think, and I think even if I sold it at $32,500, it would still be undervalued for what it is, what you're getting, where the market used to be. It's a lot of watch for the money.
What's funny is that it's typically a watch where I think that like a private would shy away from maybe buying it at auction, but feel more comfortable buying it from a dealer who's already bought it. You know, in the sense that also, first of all, we've checked that it's all original, the radium's all original, not only on the hands, but also on the markers, that everything matches, that the numbers on the back of the case
match, that it's working, because getting these serviced can be tricky. You have to find the right guy. Sold in October to 1948, so that means the Antiquorum has the extract with it, which they say they do, which
and it was sold to Longines Widnauer, the agent for USA. So then you look at the movement and you see LXW on the bridge, which means that it's US import code. So that matches as well.
So yeah, really nice, honest watch, you know, and I think at the price levels these are going for now, it's a really good opportunity for somebody to get into an amazing watch at a much more affordable price point that they were going for compared to what they were going for, you know, several years ago. They have a whole video for this lot.
We're in trouble. Pretty sure we're not going to get it.
Buy?
9000 déjà, 9500.
Really? I mean, it's good for the market if it does, but it's starting right away at 10. Jesus Christ.
I mean, honestly, it's a watch that I would not want. I don't want a client to pay more than like $25 to $37 for to be comfortable, like not have a problem with it, sell it later on.
So that should just say that's 16.
It should just sell.
Yeah.
Deux fois, j'adjuge. Adjugé 26 000 euros.
Okay, so chronologically, we have next 68. Ooh, the Getty Lee. So this is a Universal Genève chronograph, Tri-Compax. So this is 881 101 and then /03 for the exotic dial, or Geddy Lee, as Geddy Lee, the famous musician, is known to wear this model. Okay, the first thing I check on these is before we even get to the dial, the loom, all that good stuff,
Serial number.
are the serial numbers still visible on the back? Because these were very thinly done, and I'm going to peel
Shallow
back.
engravings.
I can see them, but I'm going to peel back the stickers so we could maybe.
So they do mention in the catalog that the numbers are still clearly visible, often polished off,
Right.
and will please any Universal Jeanette collector.
So there they are. Reference on top, serial number on bottom. Absolutely original, because I actually have seen a few of these re-engraved, surprisingly, but the fonts are very distinct. This bracelet, while it is stamped UG, is not the original bracelet to the watch, but it is cool. It's a cool UGF bracelet, dated to 1963, stretch rivet, super cool.
It's actually earlier than the watch.
Now we get to the watch. Case, amazing. Razor sharp and unpolished.
Yes.
Okay. Pushers and crown appear to be original. Let's move on to the dial. And listen, there's some aging on the dial, some patina in the registers and around the chapter ring, but it's overall very attractive. There is a nice scratch and march of the date wheel, which leads me to believe it's possible that it goes through further.
So there's the outer white ring. There's some chipping on the very, very outer edges.
Yeah.
And then also half the Tri-Compax is erased.
Ooh. My eyes just went there. So that probably is my biggest qualm with the watch, would be, like you said, the Tri-Compax being erased.
Yep.
All of that being said,
With all that said,
on a personal note, this is probably my favorite vintage watch of all time. And on a more, I guess, business pragmatic note, this is a very difficult watch to track down.
okay, so this would be the same example, because this Singer-made dial. What is a Paul Newman worth when it has that kind of damage around the edge?
Okay, so let's put it this way. A perfect example of this watch, I think, will run you, if you could even find it, around $40,000 in today's market, because this has remained very popular and very sought after and very hard to find.
Okay.
So I think if you want a great example, you're paying 40 grand for it, maybe even more, who knows? It's one of those seller's market watches where you just have to take what you get.
I personally wouldn't bid on this watch, but if I were to advise a client, I would tell them to be in the high teens, low 20s max.
I would say it has to be, for me as a dealer, in that mid-teens, so that I could just charge a very nominal profit on top in lieu of the condition issues, but still be able to provide, just listen, one of the all-time great
dealer,
watches.
you'd have to buy it in the mid-teens to try to get high teens for it.
Right. Even if this is a kind of watch for me that even if I didn't make a lot of money, I'm still happy to have and be able to provide for somebody, just because it's always so sought after. I always have people asking for them, and it's just, I haven't had one in years. And I just love this watch.
Breitling bought UG recently, and they've just released the Pole River, but
Right.
that the Tri-Compax is in the works as well.
It has to be. I mean, it's such an iconic model that spans so many generations that I can't imagine that they won't. So yeah, listen, it's an honest piece that has flaws that are not totally insubstantial, but for me are not completely pass watch, where like I would still take a gamble buying this watch for the right price. And hey, if I get it cheap enough, maybe I just keep it for myself. Although I still kind of have a mint example tucked away somewhere. Actually, one of the very first vintage watches I ever bought from our dear friend, Mr. Matthew Bain, for like $6,500. Okay.
I like this, by the way.
Can't bet. It's too much. It's already over $20,000.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to be able to sell this for like $20,000, whereas a perfect one's like 40, 45 maybe? Who knows? Because they never come up for sale. But
I thought these one went for like 60 or something.
you can base it off of one strong result, but this is strong for the condition.
And like I said, I was definitely not even a player just because the Tri-Compax is erased, the crack.
This is already mid-20s on. I can't bet on it. It's too much. Wow. I'm happy. It's all because of the Geddy Lee connection.
Like retail.
Yeah, but
It's something between 30 and 40.
strong result.
Lot chronologically is 126. This is a Patek Philippe reference 2451.
Which is basically a better Patek 96?
I don't know. I liked the lugs better on a 96, although it's very negligible.
The 96 has a flat bezel.
Correct.
This does not. But this does have a screw back, which I tend to like a little bit better. Above all, it's the Breguet numerals that really stand out to me on this particular example.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the case has been polished, but you have strong hallmarks, which is one thing you're always looking for on these Pateks. Like,
The main qualm I have with this example is that it does not come with archives, and therefore, like,
you have to order it, or did they try to order the archive and it did not archive. There's
No,
that's two different
no,
things.
because the one previously it says extract from the archives ordered, and here she doesn't say anything. So maybe it was denied. I'd have to do more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We have to clarify with the auction.
I'd have to check with the auctioneer and just see what the deal is. But at 5 to 8K.
Yeah, I mean, the dial. Yeah, the dial's been lightly cleaned, but it's still strong, raised and
visible on the.
Yeah, and like you said, brigade numeral Pateks, they're just special. They're special,
There's just something like really like romantic and beautiful about that. All the numbers are aligned. So yes, it was lightly washed, but it wasn't totally redone either.
Right.
And yes, the case is a little polished, but still.
I mean, listen, life isn't perfect. It's not going to be a top tier example. So in your opinion, I know what I think, but let's hear yours. Let's assume it archives and everything's fine. What would you retail this watch for?
Teens.
Yeah, I was thinking like mid-high teens.
And that would be like 15 Swiss, so that would be
it's the same thing. Okay, yeah, we're on the same page. And surprisingly, a 96 in yellow gold with brigade numerals, I think would be more. Obviously, would be more. It's a more popular model. It's just
that 96 is having its day, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a wider reaching reference and a more important reference because it was the first reference.
Right.
Let's say the bidding was that one at 4,005, 5,000, 5,500. Beautiful. I have 5,500 married and big. 6,000.
Doesn't extract. It's not swatch to wear. And it's not gold.
7,000. Whoa.
Whoa. And we're out.
Wow. Very strong result for a watch with our extract like that.
Pink gold or something. I think there was when they give you the.
We have 2 lots left, so the next one is 128, and yes, it is a 96. And so let's hold them up side by side so you guys can see if you're not familiar with these models. When I said I like the lugs better, I just meant, the Bauhaus shape, how it's a little more elongated and sticks out more. It fits on your wrist a little bit longer. And as Sacha was pointing out, these have a flat bezel, whereas this is not flat, it's more rounded. So I think the 96 deserves the love and praise it's getting because it is such an iconic look, that Art Deco look. Yeah. This one in stainless steel, a very rare variant. All steel Calatravas of this era are technically by default rare because Patek did not use a lot of steel. They had to provide steel. All governments had to provide steel to their corresponding militaries for machinery during, wartime. And so steel was just not often used, and Patek just preferred precious metal. So they didn't use steel a lot. They still don't to this day. I mean, on the sports
also, this was a dress watch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the whole point was that it would be in a precious metal.
Right.
And therefore, to find a dress watch in steel at the time was very uncommon.
Right.
And I think that the percentage is usually well below 10% of production was stainless steel, across the boards.
Right.
And that could be like a 1463 chronograph. That could be, like a 565. That could be a 96. It could be a 570. It's kind of like a grail amongst Patek collectors to find a very appreciated reference, but in stainless steel.
Right.
And although there's varying degrees of condition on all the 96s that are in a row here, this was the one that I was most comfortable with on the condition. I thought it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty honest. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely been cleaned. You could see that the markers were definitely lifted off the dial, and the dial was clean at some point because when they put back the 3 and the 9, you could see they're not completely even as well as the 12, but still a very nice signature, hard raised enamel, accent over E in Geneva, which usually gets washed off. You also look at the top of the A in Patek, and it usually gets erased as well.
Signature for that era.
What's the year of the watch?
1940s.
Yeah, so 1940s has to be a long signature.
I never know what the year is for the cutoff, but I feel like it's 47 or 49 or something like that. But basically it goes from a Patek Philippe & Co. to just Patek Philippe.
Correct.
And then if it's from the 40s, but it has just a short signature, it's a later dial.
Right.
Which I think I'd rather a restored original dial than a later dial. I don't know, personally.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Really strong case on this watch, really sharp. I mean, listen, I think this is a retail low 20s watch. Maybe you get mid 20s for it. So I would be looking to be a buyer in that $19,000, $20,000 US range.
With no reserve, sir. So I said decent, overall so-so, but the price is cheap.
Yeah, we'll bid on it regardless, and see what happens, I
mean, this is your kind of opportunity to get into a Patek 96 in steel where you wouldn't be in the game.
Right.
Extract has been ordered, so all the stainless steel stuff they ordered extracts. He just said no extract.
3,000, 3,000.
You said no X?
Yeah, there's no extract confirming that it's all matching.
1,600.
Yeah, Julian told us it was ordered, meaning that it was imminently ready.
I'm so confused. Should we skip it then? Don't we say?
I mean, it's already.
Already 8.5.
I mean,
20K watch.
Or
If it doesn't extract, then it's a 10K watch.
And it's a paperweight.
To wear it. Well, we tried. Won a few lots.
Yeah.
Lost most of them. Usual.
We have one final watch for inspection, and at least for the purposes of this video, because there's a lot more watches to go in 790 lot sale.
And just to mention, we did pick out watches specifically from the first 220 lots that are no reserve.
Right.
Because that is something that we will actually be bidding in the room on.
Right.
Whereas other lots that are in the catalog, of course, there's much more lots that we looked at or that we were interested in. But then we may be.
No, I haven't looked at any of them yet. Yeah, I still have to go through them. Yeah.
But I may be more prone on those watches to absentee them because, you know, I know what I want to pay and then that's that.
Right.
Whereas like on no reserve lots, you kind of got to be in the room and
Feel it out. Yeah. So anyways, this is lot 132. It is a Patek Philippe chronograph, reference 130. I guess you could say the most like kind of basic chronograph they made. Certainly the least expensive, I guess your starter vintage Patek Philippe chronograph.
haven't moved so much.
No, unless it's like a really special one,
Yeah.
like a special metal or special dial,
Pink
special
or blah, blah,
condition.
blah.
So the estimate is 22 to 33.
Dollars.
Yeah, the condition I could see right away is average at best, not spectacular, not awful. The dial has been cleaned for sure.
Polished, scratches in the left register,
Yeah,
dial washed.
dial wash. You even see like the track not quite running into the register. If you look right here, you can see like the smoothness of the dial where it's been cleaned and it's been polished. So
It's something I want to buy cheap.
yeah,
It's not something I would chase after.
No, definitely not. Still has hallmarks in the back of the lugs. Not a bad watch, just not a, and on the side of the case, by the way, not a fantastic example, but not a bad watch.
Not great, not terrible.
It's
somewhere.
for me, it's for somebody who wants a nice Patek Philippe chronograph, but doesn't want to spend all of the money. I think you have to buy something like this as a dealer in the low 20s to maybe sell it in that mid-high 20 range, because generally a very good, as far as I know the market, a very good example of a yellow gold 130, yeah, will be, you know, in that
40 to 50, 45 to 50.
40 to 45 range for a great example, you know.
Okay.
It's been a minute since I've sold a yellow gold one. The last one we sold was Rose.
Rose is a whole different ball.
Whole different ballgame. But yeah, I think this is a great watch for somebody who's not super fussed about having a new old stock example of a 1940s watch and just wants a nice Patek Philippe chronograph and doesn't want to break the bank on it, you know? And this is a watch I'd like to be able to sell to a client where I know that when they go to resell it, they're not going to have a hard time because they didn't like wildly overpay. And they're at that price bracket, you know, in that 20K to 20 to 30K range, there will always be a buyer for a 130. You know, that's, you know, even though cleaned and polished, you know, it's still a nice, honest watch, you know? So that takes us through. Let's see if we could bid and win some of these watches. What is it, day after tomorrow?
We'll fill it out.
We'll feel it out.
Feel it out.
It's always fun to be in the room. If you guys ever have a chance to visit an Antiquorum sale live, it's always just such a fun vibe, such like a friendly, everybody's having a good time vibe, and maybe you win a watch or two.
It's just a lot of math to do on a spontaneous, like in the moment.
Yeah.
Because you're adding like, oh,
Nothing against Sotheby's,
Wow.
Christie's, Phillips, because we're always bidding there too, but the number of watches that we're bidding on is usually much less. So it's like you bid on one lot and then you wait 2 hours for the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas Antiquorum, it's like the fun never stops. So that about wraps it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you took away something from it. I hope you could use these tips in your next auction purchase. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.